And hello, everyone. How are you doing? It's Dave here, joined by Brian, a citizen, concerned citizen in Genesee County. And actually, I've been on the air now on my own for about a year, and you were one of the first I had on the show that I'm doing. And we're talking about a mega site, and it's been almost, well, less than a year that I've had you on, but this is still a big issue, right?
It continues to grow, Dave. They are adding more money to the kitty, so to speak. They being the state. There was a grant that was issued this week for $9.2 million. That's going to be transferred, if it hasn't already, to the Flint Genesee Economic Group. And they are trying to lock up some more property to expand the footprint of the mega site here in Mundy Township.
Hey everyone, it's Dave Bondy. If you like what I'm doing, if you like the show, go ahead and subscribe right down there. Okay, let's get back to the interview. Let me get very basic for people because I have people watching from all over in Michigan and across the country. But okay, I have a state, a map up. I'm going to zoom into Michigan. For those of you who don't know, this is Michigan, the glove. And I'm going to zoom in down to by Flint. And we're talking about, let me get it right, Mundy Township, which is right around near west of the airport, right?
Exactly right.
So
Yep.
right in that area. So this is land out here, and a mega site is there's different definitions, but it's a bunch of property as to where the state would be looking to build like a big factory or a big industrial development. Is that what a mega site is? Like a huge development for business?
Correct. There's five right now that have been identified. Probably the most famous or infamous, depending on your point of view, would be the one up in Big Rapids, where the Chinese company Goshen is trying to put in a battery plant.
Yeah.
There's the plant down, or the area down in Marshall, Michigan, where Ford is attempting to put in a battery plant, although that seems to have been reduced by a great deal so far, and may not even happen at this point. It's hard to say. A couple more west over towards Lansing, and then this one in Mundy Township that they've been pushing in conjunction with both the township and the state, and locally the Flint Genesee Economic Group.
Gotcha. And this is, I think it's a state website, the Economic Development Responsibility Alliance. Is that a state group?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
this is the Goshen, I think, right here. So that actually is way more along than anything in Genesee County because we know the company and any of you watching, hell, this has been a national story, but so they know what company could be maybe going there. But as for Genesee County, we still all we know is that there's a big plot of land, and officially that's really all we know, right?
Well, at this point, you're exactly right. And part of that is they've reached out to several companies, including the former Chrysler, which is now called Stellantis, and they tried to attract them with this property. They ultimately ended up going to Indiana.
Oh,
So it's becoming, at this stage, a game of let's pour more money in and trying to prop up. There's some options that are out there for property inside of this. They've tried to expand it and are in the process of trying to expand it from 1,000 acres to 1,200 acres.
okay.
So now, instead of being bound on the north side at Maple Road, extended, as you can see right there, up in the cross on the north side into Flint Township as well.
Yeah, sorry, my alarm went off. Yeah, so this is the area. There's Bishop Airport over there, to the east, and this is the area that we're talking about. What is on? And these are very basic questions because not. I want everyone to understand. A lot of this land, is it all like just farmland, or are there actually homes and or businesses on this land?
There's 9 subdivisions inside of this. There's 3, I believe, mobile home parks. There's an elementary school, actually, personally, where I went when I was a kid. And there's a church, several churches, one of them which has been sold to the group trying to promote this. And then the rest of it, majority of it, is beautiful farmland. And I know you just did a story talking about that a few days ago.
Yeah, yeah, I had a farmer on. I interviewed about how we're losing farmland in this. So what would happen? And I mean, you're not the expert when this, but I'm assuming the neighborhood and so forth would have to vacate.
To be determined. I don't
Yeah.
think anybody really knows, and I'm going to take Bondy Township at their word that they don't know who's coming in, and we've asked multiple times, and it's very possible that they don't know because there's not a company that has signed on the dotted line. They have done a couple of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, which never leaves a good taste in your mouth if you're a citizen, because they're negotiating basically behind closed doors, and they're supposed to represent you, but they're doing these negotiations behind closed doors, and nobody knows what's inside of those agreements.
And I know there is legal action right now about that, the non-disclosure agreements. For those of you who don't know, that's basically that they can have things in private, but when it comes to government money and things, a lot argue, well, that should be out in the open, especially since it's your deciding. So I know there's legal action going on that right now.
Correct.
I
Matter of
remember,
fact, there was a hearing earlier this week. I'm sorry to cut you off.
no, that's fine. I'm going to keep everyone updated on that, but that can get dragged out. As we know, anything in law can be dragged out for a while.
Exactly.
Chad Young, I interviewed him, maybe it was last year, the township manager. And I think what I got out of that interview, and he might watch this as well, and basically that he said they don't know, and that whatever would be to happen would eventually have to go to a vote. That's right, correct?
To be determined. I'm not really sure what they did about a year plus. January of 2023 was rezone this property to advanced manufacturing from farmland, land, or agricultural. Chad did that on his behalf, or his explanation is to give them greater control over that property in case something did come in. But again, this is starting much higher or much further up the food chain in terms of the state of Michigan, our governor, even federal government, who is trying to push multiple types of economic growth, such as chip plants, perhaps battery plants. Now, pure economics has really taken a lot of wind out of the sails of the battery market right now.
Oh, yeah.
People just aren't buying those cars like they thought they might be.
Yep.
They're too expensive. They're very heavy. But that has not stopped them from trying to develop this property. They're basically pushing all their chips in and continuing to try to market this property.
This happened. I'm going to bring it up on the screen a couple days ago. I give him credit for getting the story. Channel 12. Bondy Township mega site received state grant and mixed feelings. When I worked in the news, I would always add taxpayer money to things like state grant, because that's really what it is. Because a lot of times you hear headlines and they say state grant or federal money or state money. Well, it's my money, really. It's all of our money.
Yeah, it came from somewhere. It just didn't grow on a tree, and it was given from the state. The Michigan Strategic Fund has earlier this week came out with their grants, and 9.2, as you can see there, is coming locally to try to probably extend some of the options they have on property, continue to build some of the infrastructure. There's a railroad that comes on the north side by Maple Road, and they want to improve that, maybe repave. Nobody knows for sure, again, because nobody's saying what's going on, but they basically want to try to put as much lipstick on this as they can to make it as attractive to business as they can.
And I think the thing is, people watching, and sometimes they'll think, oh, why are you anti-business? You're not I'm assuming you're not anti-business. I'm not either. I believe in a free market and entrepreneurs and so forth. But the concern is, I mean, myself, transparency is a big one. I mean,
Absolutely.
you want to know what's going on because it's your community.
And not only that, environmentally is one of my biggest concerns. And I think most of the people that are involved in this, because they're talked about, and this is coming directly from Tyler, who works for the economic group, that they, quote, have a big old straw going out in the Lake Huron to pull water over. And if it's a chip plant, advanced chip plant, they're talking about using, according to the chip plant group industry, over 11 million gallons of water a day. Now that's every day. That just doesn't come once a week or twice a week. That's every day. And that's a lot of water.
And let me guess, they won't have to pay for that water probably.
That I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is we don't know. So there's an environmental issue. There's lots of issues. But it could be right now that we don't know, but they may not have anyone right now to take this land, this property. But they're still then pumping money into it, hoping to bring someone here. Stellantis went to Indiana, and a lot of companies have gone to Indiana actually because they're better. Some experts say, more favorable to business. But so what can people do? Just demand continued transparency?
That is step one. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I sort of chuckle at is Tyler did an interview earlier this week where they've been overwhelmed with the local support, which I guess depends on the lenses that you're looking at it. There's some companies that obviously want to have business generated from this locally, like the electric union, electricians union,
Yeah.
and they've talked about trying to stay. I've been at meetings, township meetings, where they've talked about being able to work in their backyard instead of having to drive. But that's short term. When they build the plant, whatever it may be, that's going to be maybe a year, year and a half, and then that work. It doesn't. It's not like all those electricians are going to have jobs there. Very few. Tyler's never given us a real number, and he can't because he doesn't know what's going in at this point unless he does and hasn't explained it. But he's talked about 2,000 plus jobs being built or created. That's all smoke. There's nobody that can tell you.
It is, and I want to bring up, and I do work for the Mackinac Center at times, but they did an article right here, Genesee County, Northgate, a case study in political development. Governor Whitmer gave $1 million to this company in taxpayer money, said it would add 374 jobs. It turned out it added hardly no jobs at all. So I think a lot of these times the companies do headlines and news conferences with the politicians, and they say it's going to bring all these jobs, and the research shows many times it doesn't.
Well, let me give you a perfect example of that. If it's a chip plant and they're building these chips, they are very high tolerance, meaning there can't be a lot of movement in the plant because of dust and things like that. Those chips are very, very sensitive. So they're not going to have 2,000 plus people walking around in a plant doing, A through Z, whatever their task may be. They're going to be as automated as possible. There may be a few repair people on site, but it's not going to be the numbers that they're talking about. That is just part of political 101, trying to get the approval from the public. And I understand where they're coming from. I'm not against business. We've got a lot of property in Genesee County where we could put these things. The problem is that's owned by other people, or they, like GM owns some of those. There's the property where AC Delco used to be, where a lot of this could go and coexist, and there's already been industry there. You have to wonder what their goal is with going in on farmland that's vacant right now. Why are you trying to do that? What's the purpose of that?
Yeah, that's something I didn't ask you before, and I need to ask the state. Why was this chosen? Why was this section of land? Where did that come from?
If you look at it from a 30,000 foot view, it's a great piece of property because
Yeah,
because you've got 69 to the east and west going to Canada, you've got 75 north and south, you've got an international airport just to the east.
true.
So I understand all of that.
Yeah.
But again, if you go to some property that's already been worked industrial and used from an industrial standpoint, what's the negative of that? Well, you can't buy that property if you're a private citizen or a conglomerate and make money off of the sale of that property. This is virgin farmland, and various people may own some of this, and hopefully I'm sure they're looking to get rich off of it as well.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So right now we're kind of in a holding pattern, and people message me every once in a while, and they see the signs. I don't know if they say no mega site or whatever they say, but people still don't understand. I guess, yeah, people just need to continue to. It'd be nice, show up at meetings. People should go to every government meeting, but especially just to voice their continued in favor or opposition, either way, right? Just be more involved in government.
Yeah, show up. It's every other Monday, typically at 7 o'clock at the township offices off of Grand Blanc Road. I've been to several, and I'm as guilty as anybody from not attending all of those.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to, and I would say the same thing for school board meetings. You
Yeah.
can't complain if you don't show up. And it seems like a lot of times we've gotten into this mindset of letting other people fight the fight if you're not in agreement with something. And I'm not looking for a fight. That's not my goal. But ultimately, I want to protect our farmland. I want to protect our environment. If you're pulling 11 million plus gallons of water out of Lake Huron, which affects all of the lakes, I got a real problem with that. I'm an outdoors person. I love fishing, I love hunting. And the excuse they give me or the reasoning is, well, it's going to be a full circle. We're going to pull it, we're going to clean it, and we're going to send it back. I'm like, well, then if that's the case, why don't you just keep reusing the same water?
Yeah.
And they don't have an answer for that. And I would not feed it or give it to my kids to drink. I doubt they would either.
Yeah. And do we know, I know 9.2 million, how much money so far is wrapped into this? I'd have to do some more research. Honestly, I know 9.2 million earlier this week, but a lot of
a couple million early on as seed money.
Yeah.
And again, there are options on some of this property. Some of it they already have under control. Others, there were options on. There've been a lot of farmers in the area. A few people have refused to sell, and I give them great credit. Others have sold out and are taking the money and have made statements that this will care for their family for generations going forward. So it's not going at a cheap rate, obviously.
Understand that. And was it Chad Young, when I interviewed him, he said people don't need to worry. It's not going to pop up in the middle of the night and there won't be construction beginning. He said people will have the chance, the board, not him because he's a supervisor or manager, but the elected officials will have a chance to vote. That's what he told me, and I hope that would be the case.
If the state wants this to happen, it will happen, unless there's a huge groundswell of people fighting it. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure people are aware of it. The worst thing, in my opinion, is that this thing gets approved and then you've got people coming after the fact, raising their hands saying, wait a second, I didn't know about this. How did this happen? Well, it's been happening now for close to 2 years. Get involved, attend some meetings, find out where you stand on the issue. Nothing saying I'm right. Nothing saying all of us are right. Figure out for yourself where you stand and go from there.
And like you said, the state, the local municipalities, the managers, the board members, they can only know what they know. And the state, as I know, the state doesn't communicate all the time and for reasons. So I don't know what's going on at the state level. So they had a company lined up with Stellantis and it fell through. That says a lot, that they were being given all of this and they still did not take it.
Well, you wonder how long they're going to keep pushing this narrative of this property. I mean, like we said, Marshall has backed down. Goshen is up in the air to a degree. They've got a lot of permits that have to be obtained. They'll tell you they have it, but they don't. And so there's a lot that still has to happen. There's the concern here that, and I know what Chad said, it's not going to just pop up overnight, correct? But once there's a deal done and it's being done behind closed doors with the NDA, then what happens at that point?
Yeah, and I think he had told me then they still need to vote on it. But your point is that all of that discussion behind the scenes, that should be not behind the scenes. It should be out in front with everybody.
That's transparency. Every government entity will tell you they want transparency until they don't.
Yeah, well, Michigan is among the worst when it comes to, not even on the local level, but the state level. It's pretty bad. So, okay, I just wanted to bring this up again because people ask me often about it. And you have a website or just the Facebook group?
Facebook page.
Okay. Oh, I lost your audio. Can you hear me still? Hello? Hello?
Sorry about that. Did the phone come through?
Yeah, no, yeah, I lost you. You're back though. That's good. Okay, so I can just, if for the very latest, I know you have some good people updating the Facebook page. I can put a link to that and people can join that. And if there's any information, that'll be updated on there, right?
That's the place to go. Yeah, that's the place to go. And if there's other things going on, we'll direct you from there.
Okay, and I want to be honest. Like, and Chad Young, any officials, he said he's always open to questions. If anyone has any concerns, don't believe what I'm saying, or you say, go ahead and email him, or email you, or email him, email the state. I would hope that everyone is open, and I will update if we learn more about the legal action on the NDA. I'll put that out there too, because people need to know.
That would be very helpful. And again, just show up to the meetings, attend the meetings, find out what's going on. Goshen is its own set of problems up there. That one seems to be a little more strenuous right now in terms of, like you said, we're attached a company to the property, and there's a lot going on. They replaced their whole board up there. We have an election here in November. There'll be some people running for offices here locally, some of them that want to not see this happen, and we'll see what happens once November comes.
Gotcha. Okay, last word. It's all about transparency. That's all we ask, and it seems like it's a hard thing to do, but I understand both sides. So I appreciate you taking the time. Keep me updated.
Will do. Thank you, Dave.
Okay.